Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be comparing my two experiences working at both Disney World and Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. So stay tuned. So first I'm going to do a little intro on how I started working for both companies. I first got hired at Disney. Actually, I was a seasonal at Disney in 2013 and 2014. I worked at Magic Kingdom at Casey's Corner in Tomorrowland Terrace. Also did the dessert party at night for the fireworks show. So it was very late nights that I had to work. I was not a fan of working at Magic Kingdom at all. But you do get paid a little extra just because it is very inconvenient to work at Magic Kingdom. So in 2017, I got rehired as part-time. So when I got rehired, I got a quick service job at the bakery at the Boardwalk Resort. Let me tell you, working at a resort is 10 times better than working at a park. Let me tell you that. So that's how I got in at Disney. So my management ended up getting more locations under their umbrella at the Boardwalk, so I ended up working at all the quick services there. I was also a stalker there, and then I ended up being a trainer there, and then a coordinator there. So I had quite a bit of different jobs the past 3.5 years. I was trying to get on a wait list there for a tip position because they make more money. Their wait lists there were taking a little too long for my taste, so I ended up going back to part-time so that I could get a job at Universal Studios. So at Universal Studios, I got hired on as a bartender at Volcano Bay, which is a pretty good gig. So then I ended up working 3 days at Disney, 3 days at Universal Studios, and 1 day off. Sometimes I wouldn't get 1 day off because I'd pick up another shift, or they would schedule me 4 days at one, and I'd be working all 7 days. It's tiring working at both. So that's how I got in at both companies. Just a little intro. First topic I want to talk about is getting hired at both companies. I worked more at Disney than I did at Universal, so I have a lot more knowledge on the Disney side. So how to get hired at Disney. Every single time I've applied to Disney, I've gotten hired. If I didn't get hired, I was on a wait list for a job that wasn't available. The key to getting hired or getting the job you want is to apply for any hourly role. For example, I applied for security, and I don't have any security experience, but once you apply for an hourly role, Disney will send you an online interview. It's pretty much just like the questionnaire, like if you highly agree or don't agree at all, or like in between neutrals, those kind of questions. So if you pass that, they'll send you an email to schedule an either in-person interview or a phone interview. If you are in the area, go to the interview in person. People are just typically more comfortable in person than on the phone, for one thing. 2, if you're on the phone, I feel like you're more willing to talk faster, and the interview's gonna be a lot shorter than if it was in person. 3, I feel like you have more time to talk to the person interviewing you if you're there in person. So if you have the chance to go in person for the interview. And here's the thing too, if you've gotten an in-person interview, it typically means you're already hired. They just need to place you somewhere. So when I applied for security, I obviously didn't have the qualifications for security because at Disney really looks for veterans, people who were in the military, a police officer, or former security guard somewhere. So I knew I didn't have the qualifications for it. So when I sat down, I said, you know what, I'm not actually here for security. If you have any other jobs, I'm most interested in food and beverage or baking and pastry cook. So they're like, okay. And like, all they have to do is change the questions that they're gonna ask you. So for baking and pastry, they ask a lot of like, how many teaspoons per tablespoon, or just measurement questions like that. No matter what job you apply for, go to the interview, tell them the job you want, they'll change the questions for you, and then see if you'll pass or not. If you pass the interview, they have to see if they have an opening. And if they have full-time, get full-time. It's so much harder to get hired as a part-time and transition to full-time. So if there's a full-time position anywhere for the job you want, get it. So if they don't have part-time, full-time, or seasonal for you, they'll ask if you want to go on a wait list. I do not recommend going on a wait list if you've not been hired already, because people who are already working for the company have seniority over you to get those jobs. I was on a whitelist twice for baking pastry as a non-cast member, and I never got it. Get a job that's open. Get a job that they have. Get full-time if you can. If that particular job doesn't have full-time, maybe be open to another role that does have full-time. The only exception to getting the full-time job, I would say, is get the part-time job if it's a tip position. So if you have the option to be a full-time, quick service person over a part-time tip position, get the part-time tip position. You're gonna make so much more money. You can pick up shifts, and it's way easier to go from part-time to full-time in tip position than to go from a non-tipped to a tip, if that makes sense. I feel like it's really hard to go to an interview with Disney and not come out with a job. So for getting hired at Universal, I do remember applying a lot during college for my college breaks and never getting hired. I want to say it's actually harder to get hired at Universal than Disney. But after getting more experience, I was, more qualified for the job. So the first interview you have with their hiring team, I guess comparing this to Disney, Disney's hiring team is called casting. So their equivalent, I'm not sure what it's called. But the first interview is with them, just to make sure that you are overall able to be the team member that Universal wants you to be. So just a general interview. If you pass the first interview, your second interview is with the manager of the particular place you would be working for. So my second interview was with a leader at Volcano Bay, and they asked very specific job-related questions. So after the interview with her, she offered me the job on the spot. I would say interview processes, Disney was a lot easier to get hired, and the interview process wasn't as hard. With Universal, it's hard to get in, and the interview's a lot harder too. Because with Disney, you're not interviewing with anybody from your location at all. You're just interviewing with casting. With Universal, you gotta do their version of casting interview, and then you interview with the manager of your location. So you really gotta impress them before they hire you. The second topic I'm going to talk about is the management. There is a massive difference when it comes to the management of Universal and Disney. So something I'm going to talk about later is called seniority and the union at Disney, which Universal Studios does not have. But because of this, the management is very different. They both have very different things that they are able to do. At Disney, the managers don't have as much power as at Universal, which can be a good thing or bad thing depending on who you are as a person, which one will work better for you. So at Disney, they're really not able to have that much favoritism. And honestly, I feel like the seniority thing was in place to prevent stuff like that. So they're not in charge of your scheduling. They're not in charge of who gets more hours than somebody. So managers are not in charge of hiring people. They can't promote you even. The manager's manager can promote you, but that your actual manager won't be able to have that power. They can't give you a shift over somebody else either. So pretty much what they can fire you. They can give you reprimands, they can give you coachings, they can give you also the 4 keys, which is a positive thing. You want 4 keys. If you've done something that they were like, wow, that's impressive, I can give you 4 keys. Pretty much the 4 keys is just a recognition that goes on your record card. Nothing really special to it unless you're going for a promotion. They can see, oh well, you have 24 keys in the past year. That's great. So at Disney, the managers there can't really do much besides fire, coaching, reprimands, and 4 keys. Whereas at Universal, the managers there I feel like have a lot of power. So they don't have a union, they don't have seniority. They are allowed to play favorites. So I was hired on as a part-time there, and there's some seasonal team members there that got more shifts than I did, which shouldn't be the case because seasonal is under part-time. They got so much shifts that my part-time status went to seasonal because I wasn't put on the schedule enough. I think they are allowed to do your scheduling as well. I'm not quite sure on that, who does the scheduling, but I feel like if they don't like it, they can change it. Which at Disney, I think the only thing managers can do is change the location that they're working at, but they can't take them off the schedule. They can't replace them with somebody unless the cast members themselves are trying to switch shifts. but the managers at Disney aren't able to just take somebody off the schedule and replace them with somebody else. Whereas at Universal, I really felt like they had the power to do that. This might not be a bad thing for you though, just because, I mean, you may be able to get on the manager's good side, get all the good shifts, and you're able to work at more locations. So I was stationed at Volcano Bay, but I was able to pick up so many shifts from City Walk because the management there liked me. So it can work in your favor whether the managers like you or not. Just depends on who you are as a person. That would depend what kind of management you would like better, if the management has a lot of power over you or if they don't have a lot of power over you. The third topic I'm going to talk about, and this one's a pretty big one, is the seniority / union. This primarily relates to Disney because Universal does not have a union, so it depends on whether you like that. As I said, it gives management more power at Universal that they don't have a union. It gives management at Disney less power because of it. I personally like the seniority, but it can work very much against you when you're new. Which technically I really was new, but I like things to be in order. I don't like favoritism. I do agree that the longer you are there, the more seniority you should have. So I agree with the seniority in union. So what that means is, let's say Jean has been working for the company for 35 years. I don't know how long Disney's been around, but let's just say Jean was the first cast member to be hired, and she's full-time now, so she has the most seniority out of all the cast members who will ever get hired after her, which means that she gets #1 choice in a lot of things. She'll get #1 choice on what days she wants off. She gets #1 choice on vacation. Let's say she wants to transfer, she'll get that spot over anybody else. So the longer you're there, the more seniority you have. So full-time has more seniority than part-time. Part-time has more seniority than seasonal. And college program, you don't have no seniority at all. You are all disposable to Disney. Sorry. I found that seniority mainly affects transfers. So as I said, full-time will have seniority over part-time. It's kind of confusing how it all works too. So let's say I'm a full-time quick service person and I want to transfer from the boardwalk to Epcot quick service full-time, and somebody else at the boardwalk who's part-time quick service wants the same spot at Epcot for a full-time quick service. The full-timer is already going to get it because they're already full-time. I think the only exception to this is if at that location, if there's a part-time quick service person that already works at that location who's trying to get the full-time spot, they will get it over the full-timer that's not at that location. To my understanding, that's how it works. Also, I think this applies to other locations too. So if a part-timer in one area, let's say food and beverage, wants a full-time spot in another area, I believe they have more seniority than, let's say, a full-time attractions person. Because the part-time person is already in the line of business, which is food and beverage, I believe they might be able to get it over the full-time person who's in a different line of business. However, I'm not quite sure on that one, so don't quote me on that. So that's how seniority works. I'm just gonna have a little side note right now about transfers. There is plenty of options at Disney to transfer into. There's a thing on our hub called Transfer Genie, and you're allowed to put in 2 requests for 2 different roles and 5 locations each. And you have to already be approved for these roles. So things that you're probably already approved for is quick service, attractions, custodial. So the basic kind of roles you're already approved for, you don't need to get it approved. You just put it in. There's little tabs on it saying approved, not approved, or pending. If you've put in a transfer for something like cook, it'll go into the pending area because they want you to interview for it. And this interview is almost exactly like your first interview. So as I said before, when you apply for a specific role, they bring up questions that are specifically job related. This is exactly what's going to happen. If it's under pending, you got to call to make a phone interview, and then they'll ask you those job related questions to see if you're ready for it, if you have the experience, whatnot. And then if they think that you are ready for it, they'll approve it, and then it'll go from pending to approved, and then you just have to wait. And the thing is, with this wait list, they won't tell you where you are in line because it's not really a line. Because of seniority, you could be on different numbers in this line, because let's say you were like the next in line to get the job. Well, somebody who has more seniority than you, who now decided they want that job, they're gonna get above you and you're gonna get bumped down on the list. It's really hard to tell whether you're close to getting a job or not because there's no line. You're constantly in a different position depending on who wants the job, who has more seniority than you. So how I was able to get on a wait list for a couple things: cook, baking and pastry cook, and bartending. So each time I had to make a call to set up an interview, they asked me the questions, they approved me, and then I was on a wait list for it. The chances of you getting a full-time job from this wait list is rare though if you're changing roles. So me going from quick service to bartending, I can guarantee you I probably would never have gotten a full-time position. Because as I said, a part-time person who already is in bartending has seniority to get that full-time position over me who's not in that line of business yet. So it's best to put on for part-time. You can put for all three, part-time, full-time, seasonal. It's best to have part-time on there because that's most likely the one you're gonna get is part-time. And then once you're part-time, you can automatically put in for full-time. Disney also made a change in the contract that once you get a transfer or once you get hired, you have to be in that role for at least a year before you can put in a transfer for somewhere else. The only thing you can do, let's say you just got hired as a part-time, you can automatically put in for full-time anywhere else. Because Disney doesn't consider that as a transfer, they consider it as a promotion from part-time to full-time. But as I said, I think the union is a good thing. I think it's great how there's a group of people fighting for our wages. The main downfall of it is if you're new, you really have no seniority at all. And if you're a better worker than someone who has more seniority than you, your good work is not going to get you that job. The other thing that seniority doesn't really do that the managers, or at least the manager's manager, which is the proprietor, they do have the right to promote whoever they want as a trainer or coordinator. So that's the one thing that casting doesn't do, but your manager's manager does. But that is based off of who's a good worker, who can I trust that's going to implement the Disney rules, is going to be responsible enough to make sure the cast is where they need to be, etc., etc. So coordinators are pretty much assistant managers. So casting doesn't decide that, the proprietor does. Something that the proprietor doesn't promote either is going from a coordinator to a manager. Your proprietor has to approve it, but casting is ultimately the one to decide if they're going to hire you as a manager or not. For Universal, as I said, they don't have seniority, they don't have a union. It really depends on, like, if you value a union, or are you okay with knowing that your management has a lot of power? Are you okay with buddying up with them and getting on the good side so that they can promote you, they can transfer you? Their transfer system, I think I'm not too knowledgeable on transferring at Universal. I do think there is an internal application process thing you can do, like applying for specific jobs in the park. But the thing that you can do at Universal that you can't do at Disney is you can go to that location that you want to get hired at and you can talk to the manager there. And as I said, that you're valuable to their team, they have the power to hire you. Whereas at Disney, as I said, the managers don't have hiring powers there, so they could love you and absolutely have no way to get you to work there at all, because it's all up to casting and it has to do with the seniority thing and the union. But at Universal, it can work in your advantage if you want to transfer somewhere else. If that manager likes you over someone who has been working here forever, if you've shown that you're a better worker than them, they have the power to hire you. So it's whichever one you think works in your favor. Another topic I want to talk about is benefits. So both have really good health insurance. They have pretty similar, if not identical, insurances. Disney gives you a lot more tickets than Universal. At Universal, I only got 12 tickets a year, but I was part-time. So how Universal works is you have to work so many hours to gain tickets. So full-timers have more tickets than part-timers, Part-timers will probably have more tickets than seasonal, but you pretty much start off with about 12 tickets a year. At Disney, I was confused at first how it worked. I thought it was the same. I thought it was 12 tickets, but it's not 12 tickets. It's 12 days to use 3 tickets. So 3 times 12, that's how many tickets you have a year. That's quite a bit, actually. And on top of that, they give you these comp tickets. So your main gate tickets are your regular tickets. You have to go with your 3 guests. They use the 3 tickets. You have to be with them, etc. Comp tickets, you can just hand out to friends and family. You don't have to be there. It's like a piece of paper with a barcode. They go to the ticketing and they'll print out or give you an actual ticket. So on top of your main gate passes, you have the comp tickets, which they give you like 2 to 3 in the summer. They'll give you Christmas ones. They give you like seasonal tickets once in a while. I like to sometimes use that on myself to get in on days that I would be blocked out. Once I used one on myself to go into Epcot on New Year's Eve. It was really fun. They had a lot of cool DJs. Universal Studios, just being a team member there gets you into SeaWorld for free, gets you into Busch Gardens Tampa for free. Must be some sort of deal they worked out with each other, but that's pretty cool. You still have to pay for parking, but you can go in for free. That's pretty awesome. Another benefit Disney has is Disney Aspire. So once you work for the company for like so many months, you can be eligible for Aspire. So Disney will have a list of approved schools and approved programs with those schools that they will pay for. UCF is on there. The only thing is you kind of have to go in person to UCF, which is actually very far from Disney, but it is an option. It's a big school. I really wanted to go there. They have a lot of online programs as well. UF is on there. If you have the chance of taking that, do it. Overall conclusion. I personally like working at Disney more than Universal. I like the seniority. I like the union. I like structure. I've known a lot of people that absolutely hate working at Disney and absolutely love Universal. I feel like it's kind of rare to find somebody who likes working at both of them as much as they like the other one. I feel like if you work at both, you're gonna like one more over the other because they are completely different. It's like comparing apples to oranges. It's such a different environment. Both of them have a lot of great opportunities job-wise to get into. If you like this video, please give it a like, comment your opinions, questions, anything. I had a lot to say on this and it's a very short period of time to try to cram it all in. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. Thanks for watching.